What's in it for the black people? What's in it? What's in it for the black people? I'm in it. What's in it for the black people? What's in it? What's in it for the black people? I'm in it. For the black people. 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 For the black people.
You are listening back to the Maze Jackson Show, y'all. We are back. So take a moment, share the broadcast, because we are going to be talking to Reverend Dr. Willie Wilson at 8 o'clock. But the first thing I want to understand is, tell me, what are the black institutions that serve the black community, right? The biggest investments in our community tend to go towards violence prevention. I'm going to park that. That to me, that's a necessity. I don't know that that's for our growth. That's to stop the hemorrhaging. But when you talk about who are the people, places, and things, the institutions that are servicing the black community that need to be protected, that need to be funded, who are they? Give us a call, 872-259-7474. 872-259-7474. Who is doing the work in the black community that needs to be funded? What are the businesses, the people, the places, the things that we own, that we control, that should be getting funding? Look, y'all, we have two black budget directors, the House and the Senate. When you think about what has happened over the last 25 years, and it was pointed out to me in an interesting conversation, our birthright, our infrastructure, our long-term planning was traded away to the Latino community to protect the Irish Kings. So when you think about the relationship between Chuy Garcia and Mike Madigan, it was their wards, their districts were turning rapidly Latino. And so what they were willing to do to protect their power was to give the Latino community the opportunity to build up their infrastructure, to build organizations, to build institutions. Riis, I was looking at some videos from the HACIA, which is the Hispanics in Construction, their gala. Riis, it was filled with tables of Latino construction companies, subcontractors, etc. Thousands and thousands, raising tens of thousands, if not millions of dollars for their construction industry organization. Then, Riis, if I was to go to ACA and compare the black one versus the Latino one, it's literally a case study in how to grow and how to fail, and how they grew in this community and we failed simultaneously. You now look at, if I was to advise my clients now, if they want to do business, you know what you have to advise them? Is you probably advise them to join HACIA. Right? Because if you want them to do business, that's where the opportunities lie. What you find is that our black businessmen are building relationships where they can advance. And I don't know that we as black people have built our institutions to a point that we can support them now. You know, I was thinking about Howard Brown. Remember when they would, like, the largest investment to the South Side was the $15 million to build the Howard Brown Health Center for AIDS care or whatever it was? Riis, the largest grant for black that came to the South Side went to a white organization to provide service for us. Who are our institutions, right? If you give $50 million to Roseland Hospital, is that really going to benefit us? What institutions in our community do we control that are actually doing the work? Give me a call, 872-259-7474. I want to know, who are the organizations, the chambers, right? I think about the Illinois Chamber of Commerce, the Black Chamber of Commerce. I think about the big galas. I think about all the events that we have, but so many times, Riis, they're hollowed out. They become showcases for our demise as compared to our success. And I just think that as we look at this limited window of power that we have, who are the people, places, and things that, while we have control of the budget and of the General Assembly and the legislature, who are the places that need to be built up? Give us a call, 872-259-7474. 872-259-7474. You say go to Black Contractors United, you say go to ACA. I'm not going to debate that, right? But I want you to look at how their businesses have advanced and how the businesses in Hesea have advanced. I want you to look at how many black construction companies have grown through that association, and how much fighting and how much different things have happened in that space. And are we back in control of the institution? I just need for y'all to understand that we've invested in everything but our own infrastructure. We get services, but we allow other people to provide them. And so now as we look at it, I want you to ask yourself, what institutions, don't tell me DuSable Museum. Don't call me and say, we got to protect the DuSable Museum. DuSable going to be straight. What business chamber of commerce is really providing business opportunities? I'm not saying that it isn't, but which ones do we need to invest in? Carletta said that there's going to be a chamber grant that's coming down. But I got to ask you, who are the chambers and who's doing the business in those areas, and where are black businesses thriving? Show me because everything we talk about, show me the thriving black businesses that are happening in Chicago. Caller, you're on the Maze Jackson Show. What are the institutions we need to invest in that are doing the work in the black community?
It's Miko again, Maze. So let's talk about Black Contractors United. Black Contractors United has a past, but instead of letting the institution go to and try to rebuild something else, build something else, we decided to take over that institution. All new board members had to bring one board member back so he can show us the ropes and show us the past and give us knowledge that we didn't have before, that we were missing about legislation and things of that nature. Black Contractors United is also the plaintiff on the sunset clause, the affirmative action in construction for contracting. So that's why it was important not to let that institution go and just rebuild it. Now you're talking about what the businesses are doing. We're fresh. And I'm telling you, it needs building, and we also expanded it and expanded the bylaws. So we're including all black businesses, not just construction, professional services, and all those things, sales, suppliers, all those things that we have in our black business community that nobody's advocating for. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So, yeah. So when you talk about how the black businesses are doing, we're fresh. Now what? We started brand new. Every old board member is gone except for one.
So then my question
And that's because we asked him to come back.
So then my question would be, what is the legislative agenda? How are we going to move it forward through knowing that we now have a budget chair? Like, my thing would be, yesterday would have been a perfect opportunity, or what is the game plan to re-engage our legislators in this process, knowing that we have this, and getting away from the oppositional component of it and saying, okay, like, how do we access these funds? And my challenge.
So talking about what we need to do talking about what we need to do and what we have in the language that we need to in the laws and the legislation. That's not being oppositional. That's being which is strategic, because there is a thing that's happening here, and these conversations have to happen off air and not, you know what I'm saying, quick sound bites because there's legislation that we've pretty much started creating, because you see where the gray areas are and you need to close them up in order for you, instead of pretty much rah-rahing and, you know what I'm saying, always having to advocate and ball up your fist. When you make certain legislations and you take loopholes out of them and close them up, then you don't have no other choice, because you have to count the numbers. And as long as other people's numbers are being counted in our numbers, our disparity is not showing. And that's the truth. So it's not being adversarial, it's being strategic.
So ACA is one of the institutions that we need to protect. That would be the answer to the question.
No, I didn't say ACA. I said Black Contractors United.
So Black Contractors United. So I'm with you. But I would say that as I look around, right, and I think that's so.
And not just protect, it needs to be built. We need other people on the board that's in different other areas. Like we got a doctor on the board now. We have a beauty supply chain owner on the board. You know, black are black. So we need other professional services on the board. You're in the restaurant industry, who's in the entertainment industry. You get where I'm going with that?
Man, I get where you're going with it. I think my question is essentially, like, how do you overcome the reputation of years of whatever has happened? I want to understand how Hasia has multi-million dollars worth of business contract, etc., and they got all of their vendors and all of their people that are there contributing to their organization, which then goes and lobbies and then gets more pieces and parts of our stuff. How do we get that out of BCU?
Do you know how Hasia started from BCU? Do you know BCU taught them?
As have all of our institutions. First of all, I'm very
right.
Clear.
So
I'm clear with the history. Right, I'm clear with the history. Mm-hmm. Everything that we have done, we have always welcomed someone in and taught them. Now they have surpassed us in having institutions, and so what I am suggesting is while BCU is while BCU is trying to bring itself back to a place, I am asking, what are the institutions that are doing the work that we need to be investing in? Now, I'm all good with
I just told you.
Go ahead.
But we have to be you know what, and that's why I'm not mad at no other ethnicity. We were the only ones that was not intentional about that. We was always all inclusive how we moved, but while everybody else was being intentional. And that's what I'm saying. They was intentional with their legislation that they introduced. They was intentional with the businesses that they brought up and how they expanded it. We have to be intentional. So that's why I'm saying BCU. You know, I don't care who you are, a part of us, part of somebody else, some other ethnicity. I don't care. If you right, you right. You wrong, you wrong. I got on BCU board for a reason. And once again, talking on this air, you know, we have to get in the room and we have to move things. But legislation is definitely one of them. We have to be intentional. We were never intentional. And we have to, and a lot of this, all this 2% of stuff, we have to cut it out because it stopped the whole ecosystem. Because if you're not subcontracting with your people, that means they're not buying homes or buildings where they live. They're not learning trades. They're not learning, you know what I'm saying? Because every space has other spaces spun out in it. And so construction is not just construction. Construction also is professional services. Construction is also outreach. Construction is also lobbying. So that's what I mean, that we have to be intentional. And when I say the 2%, they broke up a whole ecosystem and starved out a whole ecosystem. So you stop subcontractors from rising to pretty much be the next new prime. You stop trades people from being taught in our communities. That means you stop housing from being owned instead of rented, and income property. So yes, a whole ecosystem, and that's the way I look at things.
Okay.
And it goes on in every other space. When you take the money and you don't self-perform. That's the problem. And you don't even take the money that's allowed to you. You take 2% of your 25% contract dollar amount of the money, and you still have to pay. You still have to pay insurance. You still have to pay payroll people. All of this stuff. So what you really walking away with? So the black wealth you think that's in construction, except for a few people, is not really the black wealth. It just look good on paper.
That's my point, right? I feel like so much of our infrastructure, or all of our bags, are in two buckets, right? They're in violence prevention, and they're in construction. And realistically, 80% of the people are not in construction. 90% of the people aren't in construction. Most of the people fighting for the construction opportunities are not, in my estimation, that's not where a bulk of our success lies. Is not in construction, right? But it is the dominant conversation. And yes, there are contracts, there are other things that are to be let, but the reality is our fight is usually dominated by two conversations: construction and violence prevention. And if you get the 5 people that can actually win in construction, and the 5 organizations that can win in violence prevention, and then essentially we kind of left out of the rest of it. And so I just think you gotta, I think we have to be intentional about where we're going. I would argue that, and that's a greater conversation, but it's gonna be tough for people who are trying to run businesses to put themselves in a position where they're fighting the people that they're looking to get money from. Carly on the Maze Jackson Show.
Good morning, Maze. This is Hope.
What's up, Hope? How you feeling, man?
Yeah, I'm feeling good. Maze, one key piece of the puzzle of this ecosystem that I think you may have missed is trust. It is too soon to trust anyone, albeit black, albeit Hispanic. Let's not forget that the feds had a deep and wide practice of planting wires among politicians, and they were quite successful at it. We as black people were lucky that we didn't have many black politicians who were caught up in that. And oh, by the way, old black money was extremely lucky. None of them were indicted for anything. And the one black business group that we have, of which one of the key members, John Hooker, was caught up in the indictment. This all has not yet, it's not over. We don't know what remnants the feds still have in these political players that are present. So, some of these neo-white black politicians, they don't really know the game. And are they susceptible to the same petty pieces of the game that they get, if you will? Emil Jones the third, a $5,000 play the game piece that he got. Yeah, we need to stand back. It's just too soon to trust anybody.
So thank you, Hope. I appreciate that. I don't know that it's too soon to stand back. I think you just don't do nothing wrong. right? Like you approach the process properly and you don't do anything wrong. I think that standing back, time waits for no one. We're not going to have both budget chairs forever. So you got to figure out what are the things that you can do correctly. I think that there's this belief that to get things done, you have to be doing something untoward. And I reject that theory. I believe that the theory should be we should go in and speak with people and tell them what our demands are, et cetera. But again, this goes back to me saying I could probably be way more helpful lobbying than talking about what I see on the show, because highlighting the issues that I see on the show only exacerbates the problem because no one wants to hear how they're not great. Caller, you on the Maze Jackson show. Is there anybody else on the line? All right, let me do this real quick. Yesterday we went down, take that sign down for me, Riis. Yesterday we went down to Springfield and we ran into, let me not back up, we ran into Aaron Ortiz. Aaron Ortiz, we were at the Illinois Legislative Black Caucus soiree yesterday, and Aaron Ortiz, the elected official who decided to tweet and include me and say that I was xenophobic and no one should come on my show, and that Delia Ramirez was over there with those guys instead of being with us. He showed up yesterday at the Illinois Legislative Black Caucus soiree. And he kind of walked up straight up to me. Well, I think he probably hesitated a little bit. And then walked up to me. And it was like, Riis, I felt the kind of way about the whole conversation. So let's start with the fact that he walked up to me and he was like, and I was like, hey, man, what's up? Oh, what's up, Representative Ortiz? You know how you said it was a vibe check, and that's what I get. So I wanted to be clear that the vibe wasn't right. Like, I wasn't honoring, because it's like everybody be like, first it was just politics, man. You know how I do. I said, wait, it's not just politics. Don't you got my number? Don't you have a way you could reach out to me if you felt like it was something, but you chose to take this path, right? And so so we went back and forth over a while, and I was like, so are you suggesting that we shouldn't advocate for our own selves? Are you suggesting that you did not do a video that said that y'all was taking over places that used to be white ethnic? He was like, no, I'm not saying that, but we need to have dialogue. We need to have more dialogue like this. And I was like, well, why should we talk to you? Why should I talk to you if your answer is to tweet before you could pick up the phone and call me and to be out here saying crazy stuff? Well, it's politics. It's politics. Then he goes on to talk to me about allyship and, how we've got a lot of allyship down here in Springfield, and what you do disrupts it. And I said, what I do disrupts the allyship down in Springfield? Yeah, we need to have more dialogue. We need to be talking more. We need to be able to work together. And then Riis said something that was interesting to me, right? He said, I mean, we only have 10. You all have 20. So we still got to be allies because we got to work together to get stuff done. You know what it said to me, Riis? He was keeping count. He was keeping count. They have a number on the board that basically says, this is how long until we get to the majority. And when they get to the majority, Riis, come back to my headphones. Come back to my joint. When they get to the majority, this is what happens to you.
I beat the machine with the support of the community members that helped me grow up, helped me, people who have been in this community for quite some time. One of the first people that I can mention is the owners of this coffee shop. Jesse Inigas is someone who is an activist in the community, and I constantly saw him advocating for his community. Jesse, come on over here. This guy's constantly always advocating for his community.
From the coffee shop?
Yeah, from the coffee shop.
Look, they're building political empowerment from the coffee shop.
Absolutely. I'm just seeing individuals like himself from the neighborhood, rooted, who understand what are the true issues impacting our community. That made me really motivate myself. Seeing a bunch of other individuals from the community advocating for the needs of back of the earth made me understand that we have the same thing. We need the same thing a little bit further southwest. In Gage Park, Archer Heights, Brighton Park, these communities that are, that were predominantly white immigrant communities, European communities that are now Latino immigrant communities, and I know have been underserved and underrepresented, and that's why it's time to bring some change to the southwest side.
So, Riis, the reality was, if you listen to Representative Ortiz, they're counting. He said, y'all have 20, we only have 10. So we have to have allyship. It really essentially said to me, we're counting our days until we can do and implement the same thing, right? Now, Riis, I didn't go there to cause any trouble. As a matter of fact, I went down to Springfield to show our team what's going on. Who is that? Is that you? You got to turn that down, man. But the fact that in our conversation, he he counted. He was like, it's 28 y'all and 10 of us. First of all, it was y'all and us. It wasn't us, right? So that's the first thing I took away from it. Well, that's not the first thing. The second thing was being in a room full of black people, knowing that he's counting, knowing that for advocating for black self-interest, they then tried to turn me into a xenophobe. The comfort level of walking into the room, because realistically, I'm defending the future of black elected officials. Did you hear my man say that these areas are typically underrepresented? And so it's time for change. So in 10 years, this conversation, me as Mays Jackson, the Maestradamus, when you are now fighting to have your ward protected or your district protected, but you have now over the last 10 years seen an influx of Latino migrants or immigrants or however come in, family, you're going to be the person. They're not going to be saying we're 2010. They're going to say it's 1911. It's 1812. It's 1713. Have you not seen this happen? Now let me tell you what cook my grits. Can we all agree that the tweets were offensive and they were divisive and separating? Riis, this goes back to being connected to your community and what being 300 miles away in Springfield allows to happen. It means that Aaron Ortiz, who just told you that he's keeping count, can walk amongst you. I'm not tripping on saying you can, with no fear of repercussion, knowing that in 5 years, he's going to be trying to take yours. In 2 election cycles, there's going to be a political district that has went from black to Latino, and the same ones of people that are embracing this unity, which I'm not saying it shouldn't be, but know thyself and know thy enemy. Riis, do you understand that the man told us to count? So they like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, we ain't ready yet. The challenge for me, Riis, in coming out of that, was watching him leave black folks who challenged him on his long-term strategy. Because in the conversation, he admitted he was bogus. He said, I'm going to defend my people. I'm going to defend the migrants and immigrants because I have family members that do such, as if I don't have family members that live in these communities and neighborhoods, etc. Riis, the craziest part of the whole thing yesterday was him being able to go to black people for protection and shelter from black people who are defending black self-interest. I think everybody there was like, we're open to having conversation and dialogue, but it ain't coming from tweets and it ain't from calling our thoughts and our opinions racist and xenophobic. I think people were very diplomatic with him. But even after that, family, he was able to go to black people and mobilize black people, be like, oh, don't worry about him. You know how he is. And then in the same breath, go to the Latinos in the same room and be like, he came at me. And they all staring and looking all crazy. And I'm like, family, we at the Black Caucus event. I'm really not trying to cause no beef, but you out here slandering my name. You out here calling me a racist, xenophobic, blah, 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 when you could contact me directly. But you want to have contact. We want to have dialogue. On what terms? But the most poignant part of the whole thing was he said, we have to stay allies with you all because it's 2010. So family, why did y'all disrespect? And I'm not defending Brandon. I was like, man, you basically called Delia Ramirez a nigger lover. No, I didn't say that. But she's over there with them. Who are them? They, the well, you're anti-immigrant. I was like, no, I'm pro-American citizen. I'm for whoever doing their thing, but don't take nothing from us. But we often give refuge to the people that will come back and bite us. I learned the hard way because, Riis, I went over to the coffee shop. Man, I remember when you came over to the coffee shop. We need to have more conversations like that. That was real. That was genuine when you came. So, fam, it was real and genuine when I came over there, but then you went and tweeted, oh, it's just politics. That's what they're going to say when they come to take your award. And I just need for you to be clear. Everybody thinks they the special Negro until they find out that they not the special Negro. And to me, to watch Aaron Ortiz be able to move through, and I understand, see, there's a collegial colleague, whatever. I was like, man, fam, you know, Riis, you know how you expect people to defend you? Like, everybody come, man, I seen it. I saw you from a distance. I ain't want no, right? Because, again, and then it was the same thing, Riis, because then I had other lobbyists coming up like, Mays, we heard you quitting the show. Don't quit the show. You can't quit the show. You keep talking about the stuff. It's been, look, people like, I have done very well because of the stuff you talk about. Great, fam, but you ain't never ran an ad. And at the same time, we definitely asked him to come in. We definitely asked him to call in the show. Why you talk that smack? Why you ain't do nothing? Man, he had every type of answer, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We should. Now let's do. But it was just crazy to me, Riis, to know that we are defending your long-term plan, but because it's not convenient, Riis, man, I saw you giving it to him. Just say, man, you was wrong. But when he knows that he can still come back to you and be like, oh, that's just crazy Mays, until it's your Senate district, until it's your state representative district. Y'all live in the same areas where you are being encroached upon by Latino people. I'm going to tell you that when they get the numbers, just like he said here, they're going to come for it. And it was just politics. And I need for y'all to understand that it was just politics to them, right? So when they take your lunch, it's just politics. The fact that he had refuge and felt comfortable in the Black Caucus after saying what all these people outside fighting over this immigrant stuff, talking without being able to have a dialogue. Like, we can't even talk about it. I thought it was interesting. And it was really important for us to recognize that out of that whole thing, he was counting. They are counting the days. It's the Mays Jackson Show. I'm your host, Mays Jackson. When we come back, y'all, we got the man in the building, the Reverend Dr. Willie Wilson is here to talk to us directly so we can hear straight from the horse's mouth why Willie Wilson should be the next mayor of the city of Chicago. Look, y'all, this is the Mays Jackson Show. We'll be back after these messages.
The Mays Jackson Show. We'll be back after.
Facebook Live. Plus,
Willie Wilson for mayor of Chicago. Crime is out of control. Parents are frightened for their children. Downtown and our neighborhoods are at risk. Even gas stations are targets. We will fight back to protect our community. Elect Willie Wilson for mayor. Why not Willie Wilson for mayor of Chicago? The criminals won't like Willie Wilson in the mayor's office. Fighting crime is Willie Wilson's first priority. Willie Wilson is ready to take on the criminals. Finally, Chicago, do it right. Willie Wilson for mayor.
Today, the Biden administration is releasing what it calls a new strategy to fight domestic terrorism. Following a 100-day review, federal officials are now laying out a new plan hoping to deter, detect, and prosecute domestic terror.
They went to the Capitol waving their flags and looking for smoke. He was out there looking for justice. They was over there looking for votes. Ashley Babbitt was with him and told all the people that nothing could stop us. She climbed through the Capitol window, breaching security, and called a shot, bro. The media say she a veteran. They paint the picture to make her look greater. But she disrespected the same country that she served. That makes her a traitor. They was fighting police, resisting arrest. On God, I couldn't believe it. I guess blue lives only tend to really matter when it's convenient. Hey, these are the times we witness in history. All because they didn't get a victory. United States is so contradictory. We get equal rights, that's a mystery. Politicians, they more like magicians. You know they got tricks up their sleeve. We point out the flaws that's up in this country. You know they gon' tell us to leave. Somebody try to help me understand it. Always seems like a double standard. They be out here leaving us empty-handed. To certain rights, we are not granted. The media is the culprit when it comes to the comparison. Cause when it comes to race, they always changing up the narrative. It's terrorism. They say you a patriot, call you a hero. I call it terrorism. And that's on the real. You know and we know, I say it's terrorism. They say you a patriot, call you a hero. I call it terrorism. And that's on the real. You know and we know, I say it's terrorism. They say you a patriot, call you a hero. I call it terrorism. And that's on the real. You know and we know, I say it's terrorism. They say you a patriot, call you a hero. I call it terrorism. We still out here trying to get our reparations, but the government pump faking out here hesitating. I'm out here trying to keep my peace, so I keep meditating. The media make us look bad, they taint our reputation. Look, it's so sad that COVID causing toe tags. You claim you so patriotic, but you ain't wearing no mask. You out here wildin' with your MAGA flags and showing your ass. You wanna be part of some type of revolution so bad. Look, you talk revolution and constitutional rights, homie. I guess we forgot about back in the days when all of the business was whites only. Yeah. George Floyd got justice. Juneteenth got much respect. They made it a national holiday. Man, it's all good, but cut the check. They're giving out all of these vaccines, putting it in you like caffeine. Was it all in the part of the plan? I bet money like DraftKings. It's land of the free, home of the brave. 1776, we wasn't free till 1865, so we wasn't part of that shit. And that there's terrorism.
Terrorism. Terrorism.
Back to the Mays Jackson Show. You are listening to the most dangerous show. This is What's in It for the Black People Radio. Mays Jackson, the most vociferous advocate for black people in the world.
For Ruthie Moore, for Ty Stroger, I am the host of the Mays Jackson Show, asking every single day, what's in it for the black people? And if you don't like it, you can still tell them Mays said, Mayor Lightfoot, man, we ain't accepting that. We ain't accepting that. Let's go. Yeah.
Let's get down to business and go ahead and address the facts, man. Lightfoot seems more lesbian than black. Rahm Emanuel's another case. He was just as tired. 50 closed schools left much to be desired. Police had Anjanette naked on that body cam. They suppressed the footage so it couldn't touch a lot of hands. Reminds me of that 16 shots in that cover-up. Both of them similar, so I went and dug it up. George Floyd killed, a lot of riots happened in the town. Southside burned and they wouldn't let them bridges down. Grandmother sick, need a prescription and plus a couple groceries. You gon' have to travel just to get it now. COVID-19 out here shutting all the business down. Not enough SBA loans to even give around. So many failed businesses that you could put them in the pile. If you don't survive the pandemic, it's gon' sit you down. We sing, dance, play ball, entertain and crack jokes. Government infested black neighborhoods with crack smoke. System that milked us so bad we got lactose. Still trying to find out what's in it for us black folks. We sing, dance, play ball, entertain and crack jokes. Government infested black neighborhoods with crack smoke. System that milked us so bad we got lactose. Still trying to find out what's in it for us black folks. Shout out to Willie Wilson, hope one day you get to send it. We need some different players in the game to handle business. Too many shady characters like Madigan and Blago. But when you really break it down, it's typical Chicago. City full of gangsters, it's what the land was built on. Same streets with hood legends DNA get spilled on. Carjackers out here lurking trying to get they steal on. Looking for a block to put them Hellcat wheels on. Let us give bogus appraisals a red line. Car crackers out here getting minimal fair time. And I'm concealed carry, I stay with the pipe. But Illinois gun laws giving minimal rights. Stay up on the swivel, make sure I'm moving tight. Check all of my mirrors when I pull up to the light. Pick my homie up from out of town, man, he caught a flight. He was hella nervous, told him, shorty, this a way of life. We sing, dance, play ball, entertain and crack jokes. Government infested black neighborhoods with crack smoke. System that milked us so bad we got lactose. Still trying to find out what's in it for us black folks. We sing, dance, play ball, entertain and crack jokes. Government infested black neighborhoods with crack smoke. System that milked us so bad we got lactose. Still trying to find out what's in it for us black folks.
Wake up, Chicago! Wake up, world. This is the Maze Jackson Show. I'm your host, Maze Jackson. Got my man, DJ Riis the Ruler, in the building. But DJ Riis the Ruler, man, we got the man paying salaries for the last 3 months around this mug. He got the other guys trying to play catch up now. It's like, it might be a little too late. Dr. Wilson came through with the smackdown. I got a phone call from Ricky Hendon one day. Said, man, send us an invoice. Send us an invoice. And I get a phone. I'm like, man, Ricky, I ain't listening to you. I get a phone call one day. Dr. Jackson, why don't you come on, send me an invoice, because we want to support the show, right? When we open the doors of What's in It for the Black People Media, during the heart of the pandemic, there was 3 people that advertised with us, right? Is the guy across the street, who will remain nameless. It was Solo Beauty Supply, and it was the good Dr. Willie Wilson. He has always been a friend of the station, always been a friend of the show. I ain't always even said all the nicest things about Dr. Wilson. But then you get to know a brother, right? You know, like when you talk to people from afar, and this is one of the things I think we got to get done. Like, that's why I got a big problem with this Aaron Ortiz kid, is because it's like, we have to get to know each other before we start throwing rocks at people and start saying things. And what I've come to recognize is Dr. Wilson is one of the most genuine, kind-hearted people when it comes to helping others. People want to doubt the motivations, but I always tell this story. In 2010, before it was all this, before everybody was hyper-partisan, there used to be lines of black people standing out the door, and white people waiting in churches, standing around, waiting to get close to Dr. Wilson. One, because they knew that when you was in the vicinity of Dr. Wilson, there was going to be a blessing. Now, a lot of cases, that was an economic blessing. But you know, Dr. Wilson, he never really, and this was before he ever ran for office. I don't think he was ever trying to run for office. I think you could just go see Dr. Wilson. I remember Pat Quinn waiting 2 hours. I was like, who is this ninja that we got the governor waiting 2 hours to meet? I mean, we sat through about 5 church services. I was like, how many church? Dr. Wilson like, tell him I'll be right there with him. Like, bring the next church on. I'd be like, man. And then I remember distinctly during the Bruce Rauner era when they created the Fair Contracting Task Force. And what people didn't realize was that the procurement board had the ability to block any contract that did not meet its minority participation. And in the state, through all the Democrats, everybody would be like, I'll give them a waiver. I'll give them a waiver. Don't worry about it. They can't find nobody. And Dr. Wilson took over that committee. And I don't know that Bruce Rauner was really that concerned about black business, but we knew Dr. Wilson was. So Dr. Wilson had people sitting on the hot seat every day explaining why black people couldn't do no work with the state of Illinois. And they would come with all the reasons and the excuses as to why not. And Dr. Wilson would be like, no, I don't want to hear none of that. Figure it out. It was so crazy that as Dr. Wilson was helping black businesses get business, black legislators had to fight him. So wait, you mean to tell me that because he got the point person, we not going to help the black people because the white folks say he a Republican? Now, wait a minute. Let me understand this. We do less than 3% of the business at the Chicago State got a $180 million operating budget. We got $360,000 out of it, and we going to be talking about Dr. Wilson? Yeah, that's when I really had to say, we is really sick, boss. Then I remember, I know you got some time. Give me a second.
Go ahead.
So then I remember the pandemic. I remember the pandemic plain as day. And I remember watching the news and watching people saying, remember Susanna Mendoza said she was buying masks on the side of the highway. $1 million checks, shady drug deals. She was like, it's like doing shady drug deals. And I kept saying to myself, but Dr. Wilson got masks. I remember Dr. Wilson, I think we got on a phone call with the governor's office. Yeah. They was like, man, I was like, the governor, they was desperate to find masks. Dr. Wilson was like, I got a plane. I got my own factory. We could do this. We can have the whole state together. You know what, Riis? They was like, we'll let them people die for we get them masks from Willie Wilson. I remember Dr. Wilson remember when people were selling the masks for $25 each? And they was like $50, $25. Now people going to jail for it. Dr. Wilson was selling the masks to the masses. He was giving the state a deal because he wanted to help the people. They went and bought another plane. He had his own plane that bring. They went and bought another plane, spent billions of dollars to charter planes to go around the man. He got him sitting in Aurora. Masks. I remember then when Dr. Wilson gave out the masks, I think he said 10,000 masks to every alderman. They wasn't even supporting him. 10,000 masks to help the people. Then he gave masks to the CTA. He gave masks to the police. I remember all this, right? Then all of a sudden, them masks ain't good enough. And the mayor come around giving y'all masks made out of used people's drawers. She said, I'm going to give 100 masks to every alderman office made out of old bras, old panties, old drawers. Y'all stop by and pick them up. Dr. Wilson got KN95s he giving to the people. I feel like every Christmas around Christmas time, people trying to pay their property taxes. No election time. Christmas time. People stuck in jail for $200 to $300. Before there was cash bail reform, Dr. Wilson was bailing people out. We talk about property taxes, people getting ran up out their houses. Dr. Wilson was paying for people's property taxes. Gas goes to $7, almost $10 a gallon. Dr. Wilson paying for people's gas, and Negroes talking about, I can't get my way to work because he paid for gas from the Arab stores. Can you tell me where the black gas stations are? Because the black gas station that he did support, right? He did, the one out in the suburbs. Yeah. We was out there. People can't eat. Dr. Wilson do grocery store giveaway. Seniors in senior homes trapped, can't make ends meet. Dr. Wilson go to the place and give the people money. And then we get the white folks to tell us that he trying to buy votes. And my challenge with that is his family. When he wasn't running for office, he was doing all this same stuff. My favorite quote, and then we're going to talk to my man. I'm tired of white people telling me what to do with my money. Now, I want to put a little pin in that. Because while we know Dr. Wilson has a heart and loves black folks, he has not limited his outreach or his giving to just black people. Now, we ain't got, he can say, look at me, am I black? And we gonna give it to him because he all good. We know he's demonstrated. But Dr. Wilson, has often been looked at as a black candidate. But the reality is, even during COVID, when you was trying to fight to keep the churches open, you keep the liquor store, but you can't keep the church. Well, people need the Lord. But that's a whole nother story. Don't let me get you in no trouble. Dr. Wilson has expanded his reach and expanded his outreach to not just black folks, to the Asians, to Latinos. I'm going to tell you, when I go out to my friends, my Italian friends always say, Maze, Dr. Wilson, we love that Dr. Wilson. You got Nick Spazzato. Nick Spazzato might be the whitest of the white talking about Dr. Wilson. You go up on the north side now, you go into some of these neighborhoods and you see white folks with Dr. Willie Wilson signs, not on the corners, in their yard.
That's right.
But yet and still, Dr. Wilson finds himself the subject of attack. Not from white folks, but from black folks. And they don't do it like, they don't do it campaign-wise. They don't keep it above. They get down, dirty, and grimy with it. And I'll be like, man, weren't y'all friends together? Didn't I see y'all? Wasn't somebody carrying Bruce Brown's wife's purse at one point? I'm going to stop because I done got in trouble. So let me do this, y'all. Let me stop doing my thing because, next thing they going to read. Now, Dr. Wilson, I'm going to just tell you, before you do this interview.
Yes.
It's going to be people that's going to probably write you letters for saying, why would you come on the Maze Jackson show? He's racist, he's homophobic, he's xenophobic, he's anti-Semitic, because I just try to advocate for my people. So, Dr. Wilson, I'm going to give you a chance to leave. I could turn off the screen, and I could let you go, and I could just make it that commercial, and then you won't have to be answering no questions about why you over here talking to that Negro Maze Jackson. So, Dr. Wilson, I honestly... it would be no hard feelings if you decide you don't want to do this interview because, I am kind of controversial.
Quite all right. I'm glad to be on your show, Maze. Thank you for the introduction. You told the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Whatever you got.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Dr. Wilson. Well, let me back up. Dr. Wilson, it is an honor to have you here today. Dr. Wilson, but why are you running for mayor? Dr. Wilson, let me just say this. That everybody I talk to say, Dr. Wilson, I wish Dr. Wilson would just be a kingmaker. I just wish Dr. Wilson wouldn't run and he would just make somebody else the mayor and he could be the kingmaker. Dr. Wilson, how do you respond to people when they ask you, why are you running for mayor after all of these years?
Well, look, I got to make sure that we straighten out this city. Crime is number one. Taxes is number two with me. But crime is the most important thing, all right? And a lot of the particular people of color, black, brown, Asian, et cetera, but the majority of people left out of contracts are people look like me and you, Maze,
That's black people.
But see, what you got to do with this here, and I tell everybody, don't care where I'm at, we must talk about equal opportunity, equality for all people, not leaving out nobody. Look, this administration, president now, what she done since Ron Emanuel? Black has no contract, no say so or nothing. But the same token is this right here. I do believe this. I think the city of Chicago, we got to come together as a whole, as a group. I do believe that. Now, the reason why, let me give you an explanation why I'm saying this. It because if you gave us as black people, all right, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, we didn't have the infrastructure to be nothing but small businesses. If you team up with the major corporation, and they had the capital, they got the experience, and put into our youth, getting into school, setting up different trade and things of that nature, then we can become to empower our community. Meanwhile, what you do, you take everybody and make sure they're part of the process. You need capital to do business. Look, black people just should not be doing business in Chicago by itself, because once the mayor done pass on, went on, whatever it may be, they must be able to do business around the state plus international, so that you ain't got to worry about that particular mayor if they don't run again or get caught up in some type of scheme. You want empowerment everlasting within that community, all right? So my whole thing just by here, I'm running Mays to make sure we all benefit. I'm concerned. I'm very much concerned. Because if you take them and let these particular community that do not have anything, what about our kids? We get people out of jail for misdemeanor, nonviolent. They've been in jail for 6, 12 months, haven't even had a trial. And female, the male, how they going to raise families? We got to get that thing right. I make the sacrifice not to want nothing for myself. I wouldn't take a penny from the taxpayer dollar for myself. I want nothing out of this here but fairness. And I feel that, look, I'm not taking, then somebody give me $100,000 or $1 million to come between me and the community. I'm going to be independent. And I'm going to help the community. I would never forsake no community, regardless of what color you happen to be. I support them all. So I base it, that's kind of like an overall situation we do. That doesn't even count the millions and millions of dollars that we give away. What you see today, the food and gas and all that kind of stuff. We're giving away maize, I think about, and I lost count, but the last 35 or 40 years, we're giving away over $60 to $70 million.
So that's a blessing to be giving away, have that type of money to give away. I think it's one of the reasons, though, that makes people a little bit offended and a little bit jealous of you, Dr. Wilson. I'm going to come back to that because one of the biggest groups of people that I find are against you are black business people. But I'm gonna stop right there for a minute because, Doc, you said crime is the number one issue. Mm-hmm. And then you said that the criminals should be hunted down like rabbits. Mm-hmm. Dr. Wilson, are you talking about black people? Are black people the only criminals? Help me understand this. And if you had it to do over again, right? Like, I know you ain't gonna back up off of it now, but if you had it over to do again, would you have used the hunt them down like rabbits?
No, I wanted to say some other word, but I didn't have time.
Okay.
All right, to say more than what I said.
Okay.
All right. But I meant what I said. And here's what I said, okay? A person who shoots and kills another human being like they did my particular son, all right? Murder. A person who goes out, never get caught, take your spouse or your daughter, kill them, or rape them, or break in their home, and never get caught, they should be hunted down like a rabbit, I said, and I really meant that. Because they go the next week, the next day, and continually to do this. And that is wrong. What about the person that is out here who has to stand on the side of a grave site and see their loved one go down in the ground and put dirt over them?
So why do you think let me ask you, why do you think that the media, and I would say particularly the white media, has harped on that so much? I feel like it's one of the reasons that we have to have our own outlets, because the implication, even the mayor seems to say that, to think that the only criminals in the world are black. And it seems like they're trying to imply that you're saying that you need to hunt black people down like rabbits, considering, though, that we just saw, because we know how Chicago police are at times, how do you rationalize those things? Because in the minds of black people, Riis been going off. He said hunt them down like rabbits. He didn't say black people. Is it that everybody thinks that the only criminals are black people?
Well, no, I mine say so with this here. I would respond to my, first of all, personal.
Okay.
Next, I would respond to all the young ladies that have lost loved ones. I spoke at the City Club a few days ago. We had a whole table full of women took and held up the picture of their lost loved one. One particular lady, that son had been shot and killed, 27 shots. All right, and so I felt that in my heart and still believe today. If you kill somebody, all right, Lori Lightfoot had more sympathy towards the people who do the killing than the person who has suffered to lose a loved one. All right, and she took it out of content. You got to understand. I'm from Jim Crow day. Maze, you looking at Black history?
I know we looking at Black history, but they trying to change it up, Dr. Wilson.
Well,
they trying to flip it up.
But I meant for all people. I didn't say just a certain color. No, I meant for all people. White, black, Asian American, other American, for all people. And look, those police officers, I back them 100%. And I don't even have to explain to nobody how I feel about the community, because I've proven that. All right? And continue to prove it also. All right. But look, I back our police officers 1,000%. Here's why. Those police officers, those young men and those wives and things of that nature, they look like us too. They go out their house every day looking and facing trouble. Don't know whether or not they're going to get back to their house to raise their kid. Every day they put on those uniforms. White, black, Asian American, you name them. Those police are there to protect us. They are our heroes. We know they're good and bad and everything. I think we have to hold everybody accountable, whether you're a citizen or a police officer. But I'm not going to ever say that I won't support our police, men and women, people look like us, and other people who do not look like us. We got to protect us all and make sure we're all safe. Right now, you can't walk out your house, Holly. I was at a service station back here about a month ago. There was two African Americans broke in my car. I was sitting pumping gas, and I went in to get some water. So the people inside the service station taking pictures with me. They said, 2 young men out there in your car, broke in your car. Well, I am a conceal and carry, right? Right? Now, I said, no. They said, well, we'll call the police. Go ahead. I said, no, let them alone. Let them alone. Let them get whatever they want in the car. And I let those 2 black teenagers. And I knew what I had on me, all right? But I would not go out there and let them took my phone out the car and left, all right? But same token, as suppose it had been my daughter or my wife, or your daughter or your wife, and they had hijacked her and killed her, or raped her. And this particular mayor today, people out here they never get caught. They never get caught. Never get caught. Now, you gotta catch them, and you gotta convict them to the extent of the law. I'm not going to ever get into this particular race or no other race and talk about the color of a person's skin. Look, I've been through that and understand that. But it's just time to look at us all as human beings, work together, and let's take another leap forward. You know, by now, most money that I'm giving away, I must admit this here. Prior to this past year or so, you know, you've been after you in your own environment. most money we ever give away around this country have been into the minority black community that we're giving away. Except for once we got out our particular environment, we realized this. We are all human beings. If I don't live a life of attrition because of somebody of color, that put me on their level. And I refuse to do that. All right? So I have to be out here to try to help every person that I possibly can help, that if they're hungry and they food to eat. I'm not running for mayor in California, Washington, D.C., New Orleans. I took $1 million down New Orleans to the hurricane. I'm not running for mayor in every city in Illinois. I've been giving these dollars away a long time, quietly, you know? And so I will continue to do that, but I think that we have to take a different approach. We got to think about our youth. I'm not for somebody saying that a youth finish school, they get finished college, they got to have a trade. You know, I'm not somebody that they want to get it done and go and work for a major corporation. I'm for them to finish school, get a trade, and start their own businesses. That way you empower the community.
Dr. Wilson, one of the biggest controversies that is happening right now in the city of Chicago is the migrants that are being shipped in. We saw what happened over at Wadsworth Elementary, where they shoehorned into the black community about 500 migrants against the will of the community. I got to be honest with you. This is one of those subjects where if you talk about it improperly, then you can be labeled anti-immigrant, anti-something, and then the next thing the woke police come after you. Dr. Wilson, how should we deal with the migrants that are coming to Chicago because from Texas? And what do we need to do? Where should we put them? Should they be housed in black communities? Talk to me. What should we do about the migrant crisis that is happening from your standpoint? Well, what would be your policy?
Well, here is my say so. And by the way, they're more than just a black community. All right?
Okay.
I was downtown. On One Magnificent Mile. They had the hotel right across the street. Okay.
They got hotel stays?
And
then, hold on. If they in a hotel next to Dr. Wilson, then they getting, let me just tell y'all, Doc, can't tell y'all about Dr. Wilson's crib except for his plush. And how y'all they at the hotel so talk to me, Dr. Wilson. What?
It's down Magnificent Mile, a little further down, but they are there, all right? They're there, all right? Let me tell you that, right? And I don't know, let's see, Presbyterian Church, they're right across the street in that hotel there. But let's talk about Woodlawn as well and all the question. And I know it's a very sensitive subject. But look, I'm a firm believer is that I have to say this, is that what about our own first? Why didn't this particular mayor, when she went to Springfield advocating, I think it was $50 million.
$53 million.
She wanted $53 million. Yeah. For immigrant, when we got people right here, ain't got no place to stay or food to eat. All right? And so, no, I'm for this. Take care of your own first. You can make preparation for the future and be prepared to take care of anybody else if you prepare. Plus, also is that I'm for this too. We have laws. I cannot go to China, some of these other foreign countries, unless I'm checked out by visa. If I'm going to become a citizen, then I have to go through a process, all right? You take care of your own first. I cannot let other people come into my house unless I know who they are, all right? You have other immigrants have went through the process as well, all right? But we must take care of our own first. And I stand on that. And I know it's controversial, but look, I tell the truth because I'm not bought, period, all right? And I would never, ever be bought, all right? So you have to be able to take care of home first. Take care of your people who's here first. And then after you do that, if you got some left over prepared to take care of others, then that's all fine and well, all All right. But what about here? I'm that's my say so on it. I'm sorry if it had to cost me some vote, then it had to cost me some vote. That's all. I just
I don't understand how we ignore the voters for the people who can't vote though, right? Like citizens can vote, and essentially, it seems to me that the more that black folks buy into this, and not even just black folks, but the citizens buy into this premise, they're diluting their own ability to help ourselves, right? Because if you allow people, what's your stance on the right of undocumented immigrants to vote in municipal elections?
No way. You have to go through the process like we're right here. Got to go through the process. You know, no. If you're not a citizen and go through the process like any other citizen in Chicago, you should not be allowed to vote. Period. And you got to go through the process. We have laws. We cannot break those laws. We should not break those laws. Because we break those laws, then what if we got nothing? You also should be able to talk to the community first before you move immigrant into a community without even consulting them. The senior citizen over there in Woodlawn, those senior citizens are scared to death over there. Nobody talked to them. Nobody did nothing. All right? Just move people in there. This particular mayor you got right now is more concerned about people outside versus the people they got here to take care of.
Dr. Wilson, the crazy part to me is it seems like we fought for the right to vote. People died.
Yeah,
they was getting their heads knocked in the streets. And now it seems like we fought to be citizens. And now that we done had this giant fight, it's kind of like the cannabis. We fought to get into cannabis. Now it ain't no money in cannabis. And so now everybody trying to sell their stuff. Dr. Wilson, how do we, let me back up. Talk to me about your path to victory. A lot of people, like last election, Dr. Wilson, speaking of that, I'm still a little upset with you about last election. I got to tell you, I'm a little upset with you. You know why I'm a little upset with you? You know why I'm upset with you, Dr. Wilson?
Go ahead.
Because at the last election, man, you know, all the black people was like, all right, which way we going to go? What way we going to go? And you told us to go to Lori Lightfoot. And now look, Dr. Wilson, then no sooner did you take her to all the churches, Dr. Wilson, you was throwing stepper sets you had in the pulpit. She got 2.2 seconds and she kicked you to the curb. Yeah. She kicked us all to the curb. Dr. Wilson, do you owe us an apology, man? Can we get an apology about you for telling us to go vote for Lori Lightfoot?
Well, let me just say this. I asked the Lord for grace and mercy.
Lord,
all right.
God,
but look,
please.
Look, I made a hell of a mistake, and I could say something else too, for even to think about this lady here. All right, now it was two choices last time. All right, the other person, as you know, had raised taxes on us. Yeah. And sugar taxes, all right?
Yeah.
And I didn't want no more taxes on us. We losing our home now, all right? So I figured, okay, well, we losing our home. They're trying to raise sugar tax on us and all these taxes and stuff. I pay a lot of senior citizens and other people a tax bill, you know, and I don't want to see it, you know? And so I just tossed a coin in there.
And the Lord said, give us her.
I have to apologize to your listener and the community. You can say I said it right here, all right?
Dr. Wilson officially apologized for misleading us. We was hoodwinked. We didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us. So, Dr. Wilson, talk to me about your path to victory. Last time you won all of the black wards, which we anticipate you doing the same thing again. But this time you've expanded outside of that. Talk to me about how do you win this race?
Well, let me put it this way. I when I get run for something, I run for other people. I don't want nothing out of this thing but the right to make sure to make things right for everybody, our people and other people too. Look, I think 9 people in the race. But no, I think black people. A lot of those people, they don't have no money. why in the hell are they going to be into a raise? I done spent. I put $6 million into this raise. Okay, I could have collect money from other major corporations. I refused that. All right.
I want to point that out because I did bring a company over there. Like, and Dr. Wilson was like, I don't care if you do come over here with Mays Jackson. Did you increase his contract? Because I don't want nothing from you. They was all like, hey, Dr. Wilson, we're the biggest. Dr. Wilson, I don't care what you do. Did you raise Dr. Jackson contract? Because if you didn't raise Dr. contract, then I don't care nothing because there ain't nothing you can do for me. I was like, Dr. Wilson, they got $5 billion. I don't care what they got. Not did they take care of you? So, Dr. Wilson, go ahead.
All right, so look, they don't need to be in the raise. All right, plus, let me tell you something. These guys, why people are struggling to get food, eggs, I think 70% higher than what last year. These fools, and I call them that, and they can print this too, they're giving themselves a raise. When people on the street hungry, I go out and get face masks. I go out and buy people gas. I go out and buy people food to eat. Them little kids at home with them parents, the parents ain't got money to feed those kids. You know? And these politicians, Laura, and Mayor Lightfoot, put it that way. I don't want to disrespect the office, but put it this way: they're giving themselves an automatic raise. So those guys out there should not be in this race. All right, they bought. All right, so I put it this way: is that we'll expand our base, and I'm glad we done, because I got to tell you something. And a lot of people may disagree with me, but I say this much: I understand what it's like to be discriminated against and all these things. I've been there, all right? But look, I find this here, Brother Jackson, is that sometimes it's not so much racist, it's a lack of communication. Now, I'm not saying it's not racist, you know, but we've been able to go out, and we've been endorsed by the Polish America, as you know, the Italian Police Association, you know, the Latinos, all right, the Filipinos. Mm-hmm. Today we getting endorsed up north, the Chamber of Commerce.
Really?
Today, and then Saturday, the Romanian we getting endorsed by them, and then Sunday we getting endorsed by another white group, you know. But we got out there and we worked. And we talk to them. We help. Look, I think, like, look, we was able to make some inroads, but the inroads that we particularly have made have changed some of their thinking, and as well as some of the African Americans thinking as well. Nobody not saying that it's not race exists, but we ought to sit down and communicate and talk and work these things out together and make it work. We got to take a little different approach than from my era in the 60s. I was here during the riot and things of that nature. We'll try all of that, but while we continue to do this and continue to go down the same road, the economic is the key. And while we want to be small business or big business, a major corporation takes in 1,000 of small business underneath them. Now, after you get on your feet, then you can become a major corporation to take care of your family, all right? But in terms of victory, I will continue to push this way. Chewy got 3 pensions and should be in Congress doing his job, and he here getting paid in Congress and did a run for mayor. That's the lunatic. All right? And so I think continue to do what we're doing. We got, I think, 11 more days or something like that. And if the people do not vote for us, I just say this way, they miss a hell of an opportunity for someone that don't want nothing, got a proven record to help, understand business. I'm the only business person in this particular race. And look at my background. You know, people say, well, look, he can't talk this and that. The hell we're talking. Get who's doing something.
He said, "Don't talk about it, be about it." We know that part. Now, Dr. Wilson, let me go here. So, Dr. Wilson, this race is gonna come down to points, micro points for this. Help me understand your good Christian heart. Why you ain't put these people off the ballot when you had the chance? You know I call Ricky all the time. I say, Ricky, what is he doing, man? Ricky say, Dr. Wilson think everybody should have the right to run. Dr. Wilson, I can't talk nobody out because once they in, they in. But Dr. Wilson, do you regret leaving some of these people on the ballot?
Well, what was happening was this here. A lot of those guys and people know they would put that and set that by other resources, all right, and other things, all right. I was spending so much time about the ballot, but I wouldn't get my message out there, and it had to be a cutoff line to get your message out, not only to the black community but other community too, and so I thought it was time to stop it. Let's focus on the message. Let's focus on the bread and butter. Let's focus on once I get in what I can do for other, and don't put an ego and emotion stuff out there.
You was doing that prayer stuff again. See, God prayed, God led you pray, and he gave us Lori Lightfoot. Then you had us pray, and now you got these guys that realistically, if you take them points, right?
Oh yeah.
If you took them points of them guys that's still on there that really can't necessarily win because they don't have the money, Dr. Wilson, I don't think you battling to get that second spot. I think you got it because I think then you own the black vote. There's gonna be the Lori black votes, which ain't that many Lori black votes. Dr. Wilson, you ever heard this spot? You ever heard about this? I want to ask you. Do you remember Anjanette Young?
Anjanette Young, I heard of her.
And play the commercial. You don't remember the black woman who got?
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, what is going on? Please don't work. Go.
You need to tell me what you're looking for. What are you looking for?
Now, this case was litigated in federal court. The federal judge put in place an order. There's allegations that she has violated that. A federal judge put rules in place. It's for that judge to determine whether or not that was appropriate. I'm not going to sit here and second guess a federal judge or how the information related to that matter was handled. That's for that judge who I know and is very competent and I'm sure will be fair in assessing.
Oh my God, this cannot be right. How is this legal?
Because the COPA has not yet made a decision in 22 months on this.
Look, we got to fess up and we got to clean it up.
You have the wrong place. You got the wrong house. You got the wrong house.
We will and we must continue to say her name.
Dr. Wilson, that what happened to Anjanette Young happened under the Rahm Emanuel administration. But when it came time for resolution, it was Mayor Lightfoot's responsibility. Yeah. Dr. Wilson, one of the things is that when I hear Miss Young, I think about that being my mother.
Oh, yeah.
I think about it being someone that I know, love, and care about. Mm-hmm. And I think about our mayor saying that woman. Yeah. And looking at, we saw the video where the woman was standing there naked with all those cops in the house. Dr. Wilson, had you been in the position, how would you have dealt with that situation?
We would have held the people and everyone accountable. Period.
But those were police, Dr. Wilson. You support police, right?
But I support. Yeah, I support police officers, and I always will. All right. If somebody breaks in my house, first person I dial is 911. Right? I don't support police officer, anybody that if they caught or doing something wrong, period. All right? Because I don't think that even the police people themselves support if they find someone that is wrong as a whole now, okay, as a majority, okay? I don't think they support it. I think just like the thing in Memphis, those was, I think, 5 or 6 African American, whatever it was. All right, but look, it's unacceptable. Okay, the mayor is a disgrace when it comes down to that. She lies. Period. It's just a disgrace. So I look. Police officers are our hero. And maybe look, when the police officer goes out the house every day, if you dislike a police officer right now, let's say if those dislike a police officer right now, if somebody breaks in their house and rape or kill their daughters or their spouse, and you see them coming or whatever it may be, you dial for police, 911. Now, I'm not saying that every police officer is good, but I'm not saying that everybody is good in the community. You know what? And I say this too. We got a lot of support into the African American community, but you got some of these, I call them bourgeois Negroes.
Okay. Talk to me about the bourgeois Negroes.
They make a lot of money, but do you see them into the community? Do you see them out there helping? The toughest one been on me, been our people.
Why is that, Dr. Wilson? Why is it? I'm gonna be honest with you. It's a lot of black folks. You to me are the epitome of the statement. You can do good, but not better than me. Why do you feel like it seems like black business, black elites are so adamantly against you?
Well, look. A lot of the people, including the ones that talk so bad about me, get this, who just recently, and I won't call the name, but just look, wrote other nasty things about me. And Maze, I turned around and wrote a check to help her save her business. Person. Really. Trace inside of me. And did it. All right? So, but I don't know, but look, it is a jealousy thing. Goes way back from slavery. Taskmasters, way back to slavery, and I came up through that era. It was down south with my 3 black friends, young men walking down the street, and they went into this house with those young ladies and everything, and came out, and it was the black people called and talked to them, and they took them boys down in front of all of us. And called all the parents from on the plantation out there, and they beat them boys for 3 hours in front of all of us. Period. All right. It was our people that turned them in, and it's amazing. I tell you what, that's why I said, the hell with a color. Help all people, regardless of whatever nationality you happen to be, because we didn't select to come in the world like we are. God did that for us. But he didn't say color. He said, look, all of y'all are my children. Treat one another as I've treated you. All right? So I stopped looking at color, man. I stopped looking at color. I look at people now without letting anybody anybody hungry out there, whether you're white, black, Latina, if you hungry, if I got money, I'm going to feed you. Period.
Dr. Wilson, we only have, we got a little bit over a week before the election. Talk to me about what needs to happen. What do you need from the people over these next week and a half over election? What you got on your schedule, what you're doing. All the candidate forums are over, so it seems like it is a sprint. Talk to me about what it is that you need from black folks or from our listening audience. And then after that, I got another question for you. But go ahead, okay. Dr. Wilson.
Well, I really need you to stop Mayor Lightfoot people from pulling up my signs.
Mayor Lightfoot people pulling up your signs?
Well, I said Mayor Lightfoot people because her sign stays down. And mine's gone.
That's
Okay?
That's what they call, Dr. Wilson, the benefit of incumbency. What y'all should do though is take pictures of the people pulling up the signs and leaving.
Right.
And let's turn it into a viral thing.
Right. But I need first I'll go out and vote. Take people to the poll that can't get to the poll. You can do early voting now. Use your social media and ask them to vote for me. Is that I'm a person that don't want to do anything for self. I give 100% of every penny I make away, 100%. Put signs in your yard. Go to electwilliewilson.com and put a sign in your yard. Talk it up. Knock on some doors for me. We have over 400 people in the field as we speak.
Ricky! Mm-hmm. Ricky. All right, let me tell you, I was getting on the expressway the other day, right? And I was about to start honking at this car because it was had pulled over. I'm trying to get on the E-way. It's a car that done pulled over. I'm about to lay on the horn, and he pop out the car with some Willie Wilson sound. So I just
well, let me say this about Ricky. I don't care what nobody says about him. I know we all do some things, but look, Ricky is my man. I stand beside him. I stand beside him. He understands political, and plus he's a friend.
That means something, y'all. That's the loyalty, because every time I can imagine in camps, in political camps, oftentimes there's competition, right? Everybody want to be close to the man, and then if anybody slip or anybody mess up, then it's the whole media telling you, cut his throat, whack him, get rid of him, and a lot of times we succumb to that. Right? Yeah. We when the media tell us, oh, that's a bad guy, then the next thing we trying to figure out a way. You got to walk the plank. I must tell you, I admire your loyalty.
Well, listen, he didn't go out here and shoot or kill nobody. He didn't do that. It was a thing that he's trying to get me elected. All right, some things people do, and he did it. But look. I say, hey, look, we'll do things a different way here and there, but Rick is a friend, going to always be my friend. Just as well as a lot of white and other people have done me worse than that. I still count them as my friend. But apologize for it and go ahead and do your thing, and let's get on moving. Let's try to help the people. I told Ricky, and he agreed with me, that the most important thing for us now is getting on the fifth floor to help all citizens and bring us together. So if you're listening, we'll go out and vote for us now. Look, if we got an extra from last time, according to the data, if we got just an extra 25 or 50,000 vote, it wouldn't even be a runoff. Period. So they would just do that. That would be a big help. And for the young man and young lady who's out of jail, prison, you still can vote. You can still vote. The people who's in Cook County Jail, you still can vote. Tell people who out there, the homeless, you still can vote. If you want to see changes, I'm your change. I'm your change. You still can vote. I'm not going to say nothing that is going to try to benefit self. So just think about this. Within the next 10, 11 days, Chicago can be changed. You put me in office, guarantee it.
What, Dr. Wilson, is the first thing that you're going to do when you get elected?
Well, the first thing we would do is make sure that all the different agencies within the city of Chicago reflect the makeup of Chicago. And sit down and talk. And how do we get a hold of this crime situation? And to make sure that each department reflect the makeup of Chicago, and then go into your economic, your contracts and things of that particular nature, and get everybody involved. Let's get the major corporation involved with trade, training. Let's take the school system and make that, more than what it should be. Let's not take and make sure that make sure that our kids get good education versus got our kid out trying to on the street to get you elected again, like this mayor. Putting
the children out there. Work.
Right. Let's clean up that mess, because education is the key, And so I would bring that together. I would make sure to put those structures in place. And that way, when we'll get started out on the right foot, because I've got everybody input. law enforcement, everybody. You know, we can't fix nothing unless we're able to communicate. And I would say every member of the community and every member head of agent commission, and even the senior citizen should have a commission in office so we can take care of our senior citizen, you know, and get everything in place. Then we can go at this thing together. Look, one person can't fix this huge problem, but one person can get the right leadership, and that's me. But we will pull that together first, then go down with the rest of it. We know we got to deal with crime. If you don't deal with crime and taxes, you can forget about the rest of it, because if you don't deal with crime, people are going to move out the city. People are going to take then not have kids to put into school. You know, people not going to shop in Chicago. You know, this particular administration here has been so hard on people, the black people, until they done move them out of Chicago. They done ran them out of Chicago. You know? So because people can't afford to live, and nobody don't care. You know, she may help a few of the bourgeois, elite people, but what about the people on the ground? No, nothing.
Dr. Wilson, I'm going to wrap this up, but I got a couple more questions for you. First, if you could pick who you would run against, if you could pick your opponent for the runoff, who would it be?
I haven't necessarily thought about that, I tell you, because I believe that, I just think in my heart that people know the difference in myself than anybody else. We stands out so far. Those other people got a paycheck, running for a paycheck, and they bought by other people.
Got to pick one. You got to pick one.
But I'm saying I haven't not thought. But
who you think you whooping? You just gonna whoop?
I think I whoop all of them.
I knew you was gonna say that.
Yeah. I gotta take that. I'm gonna whoop them all.
Okay, you got to speak it into existence. All right, so who would you least want to run against?
It ain't gonna be no running against nobody. All right.
Dr. Wilson said he's taking it. So that means y'all got to get these 50,000 votes up. Dr. Wilson, is there anything else that you would like to? First of all, let me tell you, I'm grateful that you came by today. You know, I was a little salty when you told me, hey, what number to call in? You call in. Ain't nobody trying to honor no call in. You gonna come in here and talk to the black folks on the camera. Don't what the Lord say? Don't be embarrassed to me, so I won't be embarrassed to you. Right? You know what I'm saying, God? You know the Lord said. You know how He said. Well, you know the Bible verse. I'm gonna let you do that, Dr. Wilson. You got 2 minutes to close. Look straight into that camera. Tell Black Chicago why they need to be voting for you.
Well, first of all, let me just say this, Dr. Jackson. As when we first met, remember we was at the other station, we talked, and you was not a big fan of mine. And I said, well, I'm glad to go on his show because I get a chance to talk to him. And first thing I said, look, ask me tough question. You know, ask me tough question. Don't even want to know what you're going to ask me. You know, just ask those tough question. Because if you ask me the tough question, then if I don't know it, that gives me an opportunity to learn, you know, and we will never let no one, white, black, anybody, separate us from having our friendship, you know. I throw it out, and just as I believe in that relationship between you and I, is washed down to our community the same way. Look, we give millions and millions of dollars away to the community because there's a need. People say, why don't you give money away to different other organizations? I said, well, I'm not going to necessarily just do that because we got people on the street out here hungry. We got people at their home, their kid go to bed hungry and wake up hungry. The only meal they get if they're in school is at school, you know. We got senior citizens. I'll make sure that we look after and take care of that. They get 3 hot meals a day, and they live off more than $3 a week for food allowance. I'm that person. I'm that person that has an ear to listen to you. I'm the person who have sacrificed self for you and for others. Now, I understand the difference between white, black, and et cetera, et cetera. But guys, I'm off that page. I'm for all people. I'm for all people, and I'm not going to let anybody under my administration to be treated wrong. I think and believe to the bottom of my heart that it's a new era. We got to give people confidence. We got to give them hope. Please support our police department, because those police, young men and young ladies, they go out every day, whether you're white, black, et cetera, they're from our community. And look, care for them, treat them as heroes like they really are. And I will continue to treat us and all of it like heroes too. So go out and vote for me. You won't ever regret it. We encourage you to do so. And I'd say that I'll lead you with this here. And as I lead before with the prayer, and dear Lord, we thank you for this day. And we thank you because you're God. And we thank you, dear Lord, because a lot of times we don't even understand things. But we know if you come in to our beings, and that we'll understand it better by and by. And we'll do your work. We'll do your will if you guide us. And without you, Lord, we can do nothing. We ask for your leadership, but most of all, dear Lord, we ask for your grace and your mercy, because that's what we need. We're going to make mistakes, and thank you for your grace and mercy. And teach us, dear Lord, give us the heart to love one another versus hate one another. Let us love our neighbor, let us love our enemy, let us love one another. And let us come to what you want us to be. Thine will be done, O Lord, not my will. In Jesus' name we pray for his sake. Let the church and out there say amen.
Amen. Amen. Amen. Now, Dr. Wilson, we still got to get the Reverend Dr. Willie Wilson Orchestra to come perform at Obsidian, right? Now I don't know if you've been to my place, but I need the orchestra to be on the stage, and I need you to conduct the band. Now, you know we got a whole sound system, the whole thing. If y'all have not seen the Willie Wilson Orchestra, y'all are missing out, right? Dr. Wilson, I want you to put that tux on, and I want you to hit I want you to pray. I want the trumpets. I want the whole orchestra, and we're going to squeeze them all on that stage, Dr. Wilson. I got to have them. You got to do it for we got to have a Willie Wilson, What's in it for the Black People concert with the Willie Wilson Orchestra. Can we get that? Look, y'all, timestamp this, because I want him to tell me yes or no. Yes or no, Dr. Wilson?
Yes. For you, mate, I would take time, bring my whole orchestra, plus I'll add to it. But I'm going to ask one thing of you. Yes. Get up and sing one song with me.
Oh, you know I sang that. You know what? You ain't got to ask me twice. Now, you going to be mad. You know my daddy was a preacher, right? And so I tried to be in the church. I tried to be in the church choir. They recommended that I join the usher board, right? I wanted to be the singer. I wanted to sing. You know, I used to know all the parts. You know, remember back in the day, Dr. Wilson, they used to have a Christmas play. And the church, everybody come to Sunday night service, so all the kids get to do the church play.
Yeah.
They was like, you need to be on the usher board tonight. So, look, I'm happy to do it. I'm happy to have it. Dr. Wilson, man, it is a pleasure to have you on the Maze Jackson Show. Let me tell you, Dr. Wilson, good, bad, or ugly, when we agreed, when we didn't agree, Dr. Wilson has never changed. In times when I say, he might say, Dr. Jackson, I heard you talking about me today. And I'd be like, Dr. Wilson, you know I wasn't just playing. You know I was just kidding. However, he has never changed. If y'all remember before the pandemic, Dr. Wilson came to the birthday party, came through, gave everybody signed autographed copies of his books. If you remember, Dr. Wilson, when we first started What's in it for the Black People Media and we was moving out, Dr. Wilson was one of the very first people that put down the ad dollars for us, that helped us get some of this stuff built out. And since that point, whether we have been on the same side or not, Dr. Wilson has never changed, right? He's never changed. He'd be like, Dr. Jackson, we might not even agree on all the time, but I'm still going to be your friend. I'd be like, you sure? And never fails. And so just remember the people that be with you when everybody looking. It's a lot of people that want to be cool with you when ain't nobody looking.
Amen.
But who are the people that come down when you are? Now, just for you, Morphea, I just want to say this for the record. I whooped Rahm Emanuel every single day. There was no platform during the time that Mayor Daley was there. What I'm looking for now, though, is a path. A path for Dr. Wilson got to create it. You know, Riis. This is where we learned from Riis, where he said he can't come talking about just the black people. However, we know what he's done, right? But now as Dr. Wilson seeks to expand his base, he knows that people are watching his show. And the moment he be like, black, they're going to be like, we told you. And I'm just telling you, what we are watching right now is the evolution of a candidate that is moved from just being our candidate. I don't expect him just to win all the black wars this time. We expect some white wins. We expect some Asian wins. And if we don't win awards, then what we do expect is that Dr. Wilson has compromised the vote enough that this solid base that he has south, because I still predict he'll win all the black awards. I just feel it, especially with 6 candidates in the race. But y'all make sure that y'all get out here and support the people that support us and support the platform. Dr. Wilson, it is an honor and a pleasure to have you here. You know, we got a few days left, but if you feel like you need to come on in, if you feel like you got to call us, if it's something we need to know, you got an open door policy. And even now, let me just tell you though, when you're the mayor, I want to open. Hey.
Right here.
Come on over here. And you know I'm going to be knocking on the door like, hey, Dr. Wilson, because you know I'm ending the show after the mayor's election. So I'll be open. I'll be open. You know, if you need me to be the head of governmental affairs or something, I know Ricky probably going to be the. You just don't forget your man. All right, y'all, this is the Maze Jackson Show. I'm your host, Maze Jackson. Got my man, DJ Riis the Ruler, sitting in with us for the last hour. It's the good Reverend Dr. Willie Wilson. He is the black kid. Let me say. Okay, he's the all people's candidate for mayor, but we like him a lot, especially on the black side of town. Look, y'all, this is the Maze Jackson Show where every single day we ask the question, you know what, I didn't ask you, Dr. Wilson. What's in it for the black people if Dr. Wilson is the mayor?
You got me.
See, now look, Dr. Wilson, this the last time we accepting that. Because let me tell you, they been tricked. You know, we talked to some of the other candidates, right? And they done tricked us by saying, look at me. Don't you see I'm black? And I'd be like, but that ain't what your policy say. We gonna let you get by with that one. But hey, I'm just letting y'all know. Next time somebody say, look at me, aren't I black? You know the mayor told me that.
Is that right?
Riis. I mean, no.
You allow her to come on your show, man?
No, she wouldn't. First of all, she ain't coming over here. She was mad because she said that I said she was more lesbian than black. So they put that in the paper. But Dr. Wilson, she said, you know what, Dr. Wilson, what we forgot to say? Right. Y'all remember Dr. Wilson financed the fight for reparations? Yeah, do y'all remember that? I just want to point that out because the mayor said she gave black people reparations.
The mayor killed it, Bill.
No, she said she gave it to y'all with Invest Southwest. She said that was reparations.
She killed the bill. She killed the bill. I got the bill written in myself and got it passed and everything, but except she put it in
the rules
committee. Right? She killed it. She wouldn't have nothing to do with it.
It's the Maze Jackson Show, where every single day we ask the question, what's in it for the black people? If you don't like it, you can still tell them. Maze said, we out of here. Peace.
Let's get down to business and go ahead and address the facts, man. Lightfoot seems more lesbian than black. Rahm Emanuel's another case, he was just as tired. 50 closed schools left much to be desired. Police had Anjanette naked on that body cam. They suppressed the footage so it couldn't touch a lot of hands. Reminds me of that 16 shots in that cover-up. Both of them similar, so I went and dug it up. George Floyd killed, a lot of riots happened in the town. Southside burned and they wouldn't let them bridges down. Grandmother sick, need a prescription and plus a couple groceries. You gon' have to travel just to get it now. COVID-19 out here shutting all the business down. Not enough SBA loans to even give around. So many failed businesses that you could put them in the pile. If you don't survive the pandemic, it's gon' sit you down. We sing, dance, play ball, entertain, and crack jokes. Government infested black neighborhoods with crack smoke. System that milked us so bad we got lactose. Still trying to find out what's in it for us.